and Diane Dayton. Today we're going to talk about inspiring women and get the story behind them. And the first one we're going to talk to today is Patty Lawrence. Thank you for being here.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Well, you are an inspiration because you have changed around something in your industry, which let's tell us a little bit about your industry and why this started.
Sure. The industry is basically accounting service providers, and we exist brick and mortar. Used to. My background is from the corporate setting. So I worked 20 years in a corporate setting inside the brick and mortar in a support fashion. And what happened at the end of that tenure is, along with another 10% of the headcount, I got a layoff. So I had an opportunity to do something different with my career and also help people, but do the same thing for a different audience, right?
Wow.
So doing the same work for someone different. So the great thing about that is I'm able to translate that, all that work, 20 years of work experience, and take that to a different audience. So it's basically small and mid-sized companies who don't have access to that level of expertise. They can't afford a full-time individual in that position in their company, but they can pay for it on a fractional basis. So that's where the whole thing got started. And I learned about it from somebody else in the industry.
Nonprofits too, do you help?
Nonprofits they especially need help. Typically, because of budgetary restraints for them, they typically aren't able to afford the level of expertise that they so dearly need. So what happens is we can help them as well, and we can up level. So I look at it as upgrading and up leveling their view into their numbers, their ability to make data-driven decisions for their organization, for their business.
Wow. So you started Turbo Execs in
right.
2006, right? And how many employees do you have now?
Sure. We have a team of 8, and then we have an additional 2 in a support role. Okay. So we've got a total of 10.
I love how you do work and life balance. Explain that, because it works well for you and for your clients, your customers, as well as your employees.
Yeah. So where all this got started was looking to do things differently than when I experienced them in the corporate setting. So 20 years in corporate setting, you are on the clock all the time. You have, back then, was a BlackBerry, right? You're always connected. And I didn't enjoy that. I didn't enjoy that aspect of it. I didn't enjoy the aspect of, getting thrown under the bus, if you will. I didn't really enjoy the fact that it wasn't flexible enough for me to be there for my sons, who at the time were school aged, and be at their functions and be available for them more than I was able to. So when I started Turbo Execs, I started adding team, because for a long time I was by myself. And then I decided, I need team to be able to really have an impact. Not only for me, but for other people. And I wanted to build it differently than what I had seen in the past. So when I started doing that, I started bringing in those types of people who valued, because like attracts like, and what I like is things that also other people are looking for. And that's what I wanted to do, is to build it the way, other people would enjoy it,
right,
and other people would value it.
Yeah. Well, you've been received really well. You also talk about the ripple effect. Give us more.
Sure. So the ripple effect came out of, I'll call it out of COVID. So there was only a few good things that came out of COVID. Some of it was more learning based. And during COVID, there were a lot of people, a lot of business owners, pretty freaked out. Right? With shutdowns and not knowing what's going to happen, how am I going to pay my people? How are we going to move forward? My business is shut down. What do I do next? What's the next best decision? right? So I had been asked to be on a variety of either panels because, Zoom got really popular.
Absolutely.
Right? So we could still have a platform
Yes.
to address some of those issues and connect with some of those business owners. And in the entrepreneurial world, we're all pretty well connected.
Yeah.
So I was being pulled into either podcast or panel discussions or whatever those were. And the main thing that I kept repeating, because I kept hearing it in my head, was that we create ripple effects. The next best decision should be one that's going to be in the best interest of not only you, but also your clients,
Yes.
also your team, also your client's team, also your community. It was all of those C words, right? They were all those ripples because the positive effect of you staying in business, your business coming out of COVID shutdowns,
Yeah.
stronger maybe, was that you were going to be able to continue to impact and continue to cause those ripples, those positive ripples throughout your ecosystem.
Yes. It's an all-around, I think, win for everybody. Together we care.
Yeah.
Tell us about that campaign.
Sure. So Together We Care was a walk the talk. That was a walk the talk program. So again, during COVID, we saw all of the need that came out, especially early on, with regard to demand on food pantries, food banks, food pantries, you name it, because people just were cut off. And there was such a need in that area. And what I did was I saw that and I said, I felt the desire to give. I needed to give. So I did that. And when I heard myself having these conversations, either with entrepreneurs or on the panel discussions and talking about the ripple effect, it really hit me hard, like, boy, Patty, you have to walk the talk. So what can we do as a team? My whole team is remote. So when I look at our team and who we serve, we can get those ripples out farther.
Yeah.
So my team is, I have a person on Long Island, I have a person in Western PA, I have a person in Dallas area, a couple people in Florida. We're all over the place. So how can we also have that ripple impact? So Together We Care came about as an extension of that, and I give one person on my team every month an opportunity to direct a charitable contribution that Turbo Execs makes to their desired charity. And they get to tell the story of why it's impactful, why it's important to them, and we make that, basically direct that in their honor.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So what comments do you get from clients and from your employees about what you do and how you do it?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is that they're very interested in the flexibility factor. All of our folks are part-time except for me. Some are more part-time than others.
Right.
At some point, I know we'll get to be, more full-timers on the team. But I tell you, they really desire that flexibility, and it really helps people. They can kind of come in and come out depending on the year, depending on their season. So if they have young children and they need that more flexibility, they're probably working a little bit less, but maybe in 3, 4, 5 years, they're going to, when they're school age, they're in school all day long, they might want to expand their hours.
Sure.
So that gives them the ability to kind of, let's say, call the shots for themselves with their own careers, but stay active in it, stay connected, stay abreast of what's going on with the accounting world. I know that doesn't sound very sexy or anything, but it allows them to stay connected.
Yeah, and your clients really appreciate the quality of service they get, right?
They absolutely do, because I hire happy people. That's one of the
important.
That's hugely important. So the main thing is you gotta love what you do, because if you show up every day, you don't love what you do, it's gonna it's like a cloud. It's like the pigpen cloud that's around
Yeah.
you. The aura around you, you're just gonna be dragging yourself. You're gonna the clients are gonna know. They're
Yes.
like, you hate showing up every day, right? Or
Yeah.
you hate showing up
Right.
to our calls. And I don't want that. I want people who love what they do, because they're gonna love being with us. They're gonna love being with the clients. They're gonna love getting clients the results.
Absolutely.
So it comes
Yeah.
full circle, and
Well-
that's what works.
And you are inspiring, and you're inspiring your employees as well as the clients that you have. How do we find you? Where do we reach you?
Oh, thank you. TurboExecs.com is the best place to find me. You can always connect with me on LinkedIn, Patty Lawrence. And our website has a bunch of freebies. We have a newsletter. So that's probably the best place to learn more about us.
I think you're a prime example of doing what you love when there's a need and bringing together the people to do it and to do it well.
Thank you.
So congratulations and continued much success. Patty Lawrence, an inspiring woman. This is Behind the Lines, and there's more coming up. Stay with us. You're watching Lancaster Community TV, LCtv 66. Welcome back to Behind the Lines, and we're talking about inspiring women, and now on another day, we're with another inspiring woman, Denise Dunn, and boy does she have a story to tell us. Denise, thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you for inviting me.
So you are a tennis coach too.
Yes.
What, 23 years with Dunn Catholic?
Yes, 23.
Yeah.
Long time.
Yeah. All right. So you have an interesting story too, because you started playing tennis when you were younger, and I love this. You got your first tennis racket with green stamps.
Yes.
And some of us remember that.
Yes, those of us that are from that era, yes.
we do.
So what happened was I decided I wanted to play tennis. I could not afford a tennis racket, so I started collecting green stamps. I went knocking on doors and said, hey, if you have any extra green stamps, can I have them? And I finally got enough books. I went in, cashed them in, and got my first tennis racket. And then I realized, well, who am I going to play tennis with? So I remember, well, let's go and talk Bobby up the street, because he was an only child, and his parents could afford to buy him a racket, and probably balls too, because that was the other element I need. So I knocked on Bobby's door and said, Bobby, you want to learn how to play tennis? He goes, well, I don't know how to play. I said, I don't either, but let's learn it together.
Yeah.
And that was when we were 13. He was 12, and we played all the way through high school and in college.
Wow.
We continued playing all the time. It was like every day we would play tennis, and we were self-taught. And basically, he lost a lot of weight. He was really overweight when he started playing. And then he lost probably about 30 or 40 pounds by the time he was in high school. And it was amazing to see the transformation. And he actually became a nice kid, too. Not as arrogant.
That's great. So that's how you got started. But you really had a unique situation because you decided you wanted to go into the military. So there's some firsts with you. Tell us about that.
So, yes, I decided I was going to go to college. And basically because I was financially strapped, I knew I had to pay my own way through. And I was working really hard in the summers, and during school I was working all the time. All these coaches were asking me to play sports, and I couldn't because they didn't have Title IX, so I had to work my way through college. And then basically what happened was by that one summer before my junior year, I volunteered at an Easter SEAL camp, and I did not have the finances really to continue the next year. So by Christmas I was really stressed out, and I decided, well, I was in the Civil Air Patrol for 5 years. Why not I joined the Air Force? So I went to the recruiting station, and the Air Force recruiter was out for lunch. And so Sergeant Smith was the Army recruiter at that time, and he said, well, tell me about yourself, Denise. And I said, well, I'm a junior in college, and I need to finish. I really want to finish college, but I can't right now because I don't have the finances. And he says, oh, well, coincidentally, the Army has this college junior program. And if you get selected for it, Denise, you'll be able to pay your last year in college. And he said, what we'll do is you go through the screening process. You'll go down to Fort McClellan, go through WAC training for 3 or 4 weeks, and then out of the group of women, if you're selected, you'll get a scholarship for your senior year. And lo and behold, I went through the whole process, went down to Fort McClellan, and was one of the 80 women selected out of 150 for this scholarship. And basically that was how I was able to finish college. And actually I went to Europe because I was an E4 as getting paid as an E4, and I went that summer to Europe and worked in Europe to see the world. That's the other reason I wanted to join the service, to see the world.
Yeah. Well, you got to play tennis around the world then,
Yes,
too,
I
didn't you?
did. I did. Yes, I did. It was amazing. My most memorable experience, believe it or not, even though I played in the Army and Army tournaments, I went to China. I went to Hong Kong. And I remember visiting somebody there, and I said, boy, I really like to play tennis here in Hong Kong. He goes, oh, yeah, I can get you somebody to play with. And he says, well, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and he showed me where the court was. It was right near the hotel complex. Go down there, and I'll have somebody there to play tennis with. So this Chinese gentleman shows up, could not speak English. I didn't speak Chinese, but we played tennis. And to this day, it's just unbelievable that I got to play tennis in China.
That is great. Talk about a universal language, right?
Yeah, really.
Yeah, it really is.
All you need to do is hit the ball and keep score.
Keep score, that's right. Well, you became an officer, and there's some significant accomplishments. Tell us about that.
Okay, so I went in the Ordnance Corps and actually selected the missile maintenance MOS. So I was missile trained, and I went through missile training, and then when I went to Germany, I was the chief of missiles throughout Europe. So I was accountable for all the missiles and basically had to take the missiles that were on site that had damaged, and I would repair them in our missile shop in Germany, and then replace them with a new missile. So I was then asked to go to brigade. The brigade was the nuclear weapons brigade, and became the chief of missiles, and was then appointed as the project officer to bring the Pershing II missile into Germany, which was very, very highly classified and very significant because of the fact they could not experience any issues. They ran into some issues with the cruise missile going into England, and they didn't want to have any issues. The Green Party was very anti-missile and were after us, and we actually did lose some soldiers during the fielding process at one time because somebody shot at one of the missiles. But fielding the Pershing II was probably the highlight of my career, probably the reason why I became a lieutenant colonel.
Wow.
Yeah, so I retired after 23 years as a lieutenant colonel.
Wow, and then, okay, after 23 years of that, how was it to then transition to be a civilian?
Okay, so that was interesting. I wasn't sure what my adjustment would be, but I had 3 children. My oldest was 14, 11, and 8 years old. So the first thing I decided we were going to move. I'm going to come up to Pennsylvania. We were in Bel Air, and I decided to move the family. So that took a while because we built our house and trying to get established in a new community. And they put me in Dunn Catholic, and of course, Dunn Catholic did not have a tennis team. So I said, well, I'm going to have to do something about that. So I went through the process. It took me about a year to get them to accept putting tennis as one of the sports. And then my daughter got to play all 4 years, so she came in as a freshman. So, and then the other problem was, the reason I came to Hanover because of this indoor tennis facility. They called it the Barn. And it was, I thought, wow, this is just a gem. You know, here I am, Hanover, got my own tennis facility. And then 3 years after we were in Hanover, the facility closed and broke many of our hearts in town. So I thought, wow, now what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to build another indoor facility.
Here we go.
So there I was. After I got the loan established, I wanted to, and again, because I wanted these kids to play tennis. And if you don't have an indoor facility, it's really hard. So that was in 2003 when I established getting the Community Tennis Association, so the USTA program, and got it established by 2004. And then once we were a Community Tennis Association, we were able to fundraise because it was a nonprofit. And so it took us about 15 years till we finally did enough fundraising to build up the indoor tennis facility here. We've been in YACTA, York Adams Community Tennis Association, has been established now for 5 years.
That's great. So tennis is significant in your life. Mm-hmm. Tell us why, what it is about tennis.
You know what? I think after the military, you know, you're a family in the military, and I really wanted to transition that same family feeling with the tennis community. And so that's why I introduced tennis to anybody that wants, anyone that can run and hit a ball, I give them a tennis racket. You're going to learn how to play tennis. So that's how I was able to, for the several years, to build from the ground up, building the tennis community, because of the fact I needed people and children to want to be playing and to, for the indoor facility. So basically, I just started giving free lessons. Every time anyone wants a lesson, I just gave a free lesson last night in the heat.
Oh, okay. Oh,
and basically just try to grow tennis, and through that I was able to grow this whole tennis community that has come together and bonded, and they just say, Denise, you've opened my doors. I mean, I got to meet so many neat people, and I'm staying healthy, and it just really makes me feel rewarded that they enjoy it so much like I do.
Yeah.
But it's great to inspire people to play, women and men, but more importantly, I focus a lot more on the children, because they I really want to see as many kids playing as possible.
Yeah. There's a lot of life lessons that can go along with that,
Oh,
too.
definitely.
And that's really key. So you are the Director of Programs at the York Adams Community Tennis Association that you started.
Yes.
Yes. And as well as 23 years coaching Dunn Catholic, the tennis team. That's really amazing. I think with you, Denise, you see something and you go after it. And that's an inspiration.
Well,
me and to others.
Well, I think it's really important everyone set goals and try to give back to the community as much as possible.
Right.
I think we have so much to offer. I think God put us all here for a reason, and for some reason, tennis became my passion, and it's definitely given me such delight to see it grow, and just the number of friends I've gained over the years just by playing. So it's been very, very rewarding for me.
Well, you are an inspiring woman, Denise Dunn, and that's what this show's been about. And I think she's been inspirational, as well as Patty. And it has been a pleasure to talk with you. And to find out more about you, is there a place, if you want to do tennis lessons, we can find out with...
I'll go into York Adams Community Tennis Association. That's our website, and I'm there. And definitely we have a lot of programs, and we'd love to have more players come over and be part of our community.
That sounds good to me. Thank you so much for taking time
thank
today,
you,
Denise.
Diane.
Thank you for joining us today, too. I'm Diane Dayton with Behind the Lines, reminding you to look behind the lines. You might be surprised what you find.